Hey people, what's going on? Broken Puppet, welcome back to my channel. Got a really fun one today. Going to be drawing a really classic old school panther face. It's going to be facing front ways. So a nice kind of symmetric one. Got this nice little layout. I'm also going to be giving this picture away, this actual picture I'm drawing right now. So if you're interested in it, just make sure you subscribe to my channel and just comment below saying you want to enter. It's really that simple. But for now people, here we go. So I got this on watercolour paper. It's cold press. You have hot and cold press with watercolour paper. Basically cold press got a bit of texture to it normally, and hot press is generally a bit smoother. That's the main real difference. I'm going to be using pencil, I'm going to be using Sharpie for the outline, and I'm going to be using some water paints and some inks for colouring, just for a change. But you can use whatever you have, just whatever you have handy, just use. So here you can see I've got this little grid drawn out. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dots going down, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots going across. Each one's about 2 centimeters apart. It can be any kind of distance you want. It's just going to help you kind of get proportion and everything kind of where you want it to be. Especially being symmetric, just make sure you get everything a bit nice and even. So yeah, so here we go people. So I've got this rough sort of size. So what I'm going to do, coming from about one sort of dot up, I'm going to draw this circle. It's going to come across like this. I'm going to come a little bit outside the circle, just here. Maybe a little bit just on the top, just here. Curving around. About the same on the other side, so you're going to cut through roughly about the same sort of position. Let's get you in here. So I'm going to start off with this kind of rough circular shape, like this. Just darken this up a touch so you can see. And try to sketch it out. Like when I'm doing this, you can see I'm sort of doing these kind of sort of sketch lines like this. Especially for circles, it really kind of helps you get your shape and everything kind of exactly how you want it. Don't try and draw a perfect circle in one go, just kind of build it up. So once I've got this one done here, I'm going to get another circle. This one's going to fit roughly about here. So it's going to be roughly about 2 across. So it's going to fit in like 3 of the dots. It's going to fit in this rough gap here, so a little bit lower than there, about halfway through this one, just roughly. So when you get like here, I'm going to have the eye. The eye is going to fit in this one here, so I'm going to do like a little circle just here. And this will really kind of help you, because I know a lot of people are going to struggle getting the eyes in place. This really helps you get the eyes exactly where you want it. So I'm going to have a circle in this one, and a circle in this one. Roughly about this size. And then an easy way to get the nose size now, I'm going to come down from edge, draw a line across to that dot, a line to that dot. And then halfway through this line, bring a line across. It's going to give you roughly a really good position to put your nose. So it just really gives you a nice even sort of distance between your eyes and your nose. It's a really nice classic way of doing it. So coming from this line here now, I'm going to bring this circle across. I'm going to loop this around. It's going to come out. I want to bring this out further than this eye. So maybe say about halfway through this circle. I kind of curve this so it sort of joins up to that sort of rough line. So I'm going to do the same with this one. Curve up. We're going to go around here and join up on that line. Once I've got this done here, I'm going to paint this little curve. It's going to come across here. I'm going to loop it across, set about there. Just kind of get this little bridge above the nose. At this sort of stage, we're just putting everything in position. Don't worry about detailing. It's not going to look exactly how we want it, but it's going to give us a really good idea of where to put everything we want. So come down to about halfway almost through this line, about halfway through here, we're going to have our fangs. So just draw a line coming down like this, and then draw a little triangle shape coming off from there. So bring your line down, little triangle shape just coming off roughly from here. In the middle, it's going to go 1 circle, 2 circle, 3 circle, 4 circle. So you've got 4 circles just joining out. So you see, you just kind of got a base layer where the teeth are going to be now. And once you've got that done, come down around here. I'm going to go, say about halfway through this bit. Well, yeah, say about, about here. I'm going to curve this nice kind of curve like this. So it's going to about the centre, roughly to about the centre. I like to have this nice kind of curve for the bottom lip. So it's going to curve around here, and then on the side parts just here, you're going to have your teeth. So I'm going to start off with 1 fang, so again, a little triangle just here. On this side again, a little triangle just here. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. On the inside part here, I'm going to create this little curve. It's going to kind of come up and join up here. So it's going to sort of join up on the side of the fang. I'm going to bring a secondary line, it's going to copy that. And it's going to basically just make the inside part of the mouth now. It's going to sort of section it off. I'm going to come down, I'm going to loop this around, and this is going to come around this bottom lip, curve around like so. So just kind of making a sort of structure now to the bottom part of the lip, which is what we want. So now we have the top teeth and the bottom teeth. We can work out what we're going to do in the centre. Now for the centre, you basically just want to have a tongue, so I'm going to make this nice curve like this. It's going to curve like this. And I like to just bring a little kind of random sort of curve on the inside, just here. And one just about there, maybe a little line in the centre if you want it. So now this has got done, everything's kind of started to sort of like make sense. Got this inside part of the face. So now we've got the inside part of the face. We can kind of sort of work out how much sort of space you want from this bottom part to the cheeks. So I'm looking at it and got a little gap here, a you want to have a little gap, just not too much. So I'm going to bring this line around here. And when I get to about here, I'm going to then start curving this. I'm going to curve this and it's going to join up to that circle. This is going to give us a really good sort of positioning to start making the outside of the face. It's not going to be too wide, it's not going to be too thin. It's all going to fit just roughly about right. What I'm going to do, where it comes on the side here, when it kind of hits about this sort of dot here, roughly about in line with the eye. Once you get roughly right in line with the eye, we're just going to create a little kind of curve to it in the inside, just a little bit. Just so we're making this more of a cheek and this more like towards the head part. So same as you get here, just create a little curve just on the inside, just there. Nothing too crazy, you don't want to go too dramatic with it. And as you get towards the centre, we're going to create a little dip just at the top of the head, just around there. So just in the centre, just create a tiny little dip. You know, nothing crazy, nothing too much. So you can see the face is really starting to build up now. So now we've got this, we want to start working on this kind of area, the frown. You know, because every panther, you know, this kind of sort of position is always looking really nice and mean, it's got a really nice frown to it, and that's what we want. So we're going to go from the centre part here. So I'm going to start off with this initial circle that's going to fit in this part. And it's going to overlap this little bit just here. I'd like to have it sort of about the middle, so it's basically not kind of in line with the top of the eyes, it kind of sits a little bit lower, so around where the pupil is going to be. So imagine where these dots are, bring a line across, and that's roughly where you want your first circle to kind of curve from. Now it's up to you, you can create as many as you want really here. I'm going to create the first loop. You know, the golden rule I sort of say, you want to make sure your loops that you do here cut through this eye. So this circle, you want to make sure you cut a little bit of the circle off with it. So we're going to curve off like this. I'm going to curve off, so the first one's going to sort of just skim the corner, and the second one's going to cut off a bit at the top. And don't have it too straight. You want to kind of goes up a little bit of an angle. So once you've got this done, I'm going to bring little lines just on the outside to kind of connect the eyes. So just around the eye to that edge, just kind of creates the outside part of the eye. So you see that's roughly got the frown of the eyes now. And I'm going to come down to the nose. So for the nose, I bring this curve. It's going to come to a point just here, roughly in the centre. And I'm going to create this curve that's going to come out here to that point there now. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to curve this down. And when I get to the centre, I'm going to create a loop. Come down to the point, and I'm going to bring that down to that bottom bit, just there. So we're going to curve up, I'm going to create that loop. And that's going to curve out to there. Now you kind of want to look a bit like a Batman symbol. You know, that's kind of how I was roughly sort of describing in my head. You know, that's the way of doing it. I just really like that way. It always makes a really nice kind of clean cut way of doing it. And now from the bottom part here, you want to create this down here. You want to make sure this part here kind of connects up to the nose. If it doesn't quite connect, you want to make sure you've got a little bit of black, just kind of sort of joining it, just so it separates this bit. You don't want these bits feeling like connected. You want a little separation in the middle. So I'm going to bring this out now, and that's up to you. On the side bits, I like to curve mine around this way and go inwards. You know, but you can go the other way, so you can have it come from the top and curving the other way if you want. Now, personally, I prefer to go this way. It's just my way of doing it, really. I prefer doing it this way. So I'm going to create one curve, I'm going to create two curves, three curves, and the fourth one's going to kind of connect up on this side bit. So I'm going to go here, just put a little bump just there. I'm going to loop this around. 1, 2, 3, and that fourth one can just kind of connect up there. Now if you want to add any extra in the sort of, you know, top part here, you can do. You can always add an extra one just here if you want. You know, you can pretty much add as much as you want, you know, it's just kind of add more detail and make it look more mean. So you can just kind of keep adding up as many as you want. You can have like loads coming through here, lines coming down here. You know, I might have two little lines possibly just there. I haven't quite decided yet, but yeah, there's a possibility that we might do. So now we've got the eyes, we've got the inside part of the face, we've got the bottom jaw. We have to think about whiskers and the ears. So the whiskers are pretty much going to come off, and you can have sort of about, you know, anywhere between sort of 3 to about 5 or 6. You know, you don't have too many or too little. You know, I'd say 3 is the minimum you want to go for. You know, I'd say usually about 4 or 5 is, you know, a decent amount. So I'm going to bring mine out like this. I'm going to curve it. And what you can do if you want, I mean, they haven't got to be nice and, you know, exactly even, but you can bring a little sketch line, just coming across like this. You know, a nice curve. And then what you can do, just make sure each kind of whisker meets up at this line, and then you get like a nice evenness to them. You can make them kind of curve. You can have them sort of curving this way or curving this way, or you can kind of have them curving this way, and as you get higher, curving out that way. You know, but what you don't want is say curve here, curve here, curve here, curve here. You can do that with near traditional, but with old school, you don't want to do that. It just won't look right. You want to carry the pattern through it. So for mine, I'm just going to go 1. I'm going to go 2, 3, 4, do 1 over 5, I might add a 5, make that 5 a bit smaller. Yeah, I like that. So I'm going to do the same on this side now, so I'm going to sketch this line down so that line kind of comes through just a little bit lower than that dot. Now that's the good thing with the dots, it really kind of helps you line everything up. You know, you can kind of look, so you can see that little gap here, so you know when I've done this side, I want about the same sort of gap. Curve that line up, and I know that line kind of curves through there. So again, I'm just going to go 1, then I want to go, say 2, and 3 is going to touch that dot just there, the 4 is going to go there, and the 5th one is just going to go there. So you've got the whiskers now, and the whiskers got a nice kind of sort of shape to them. And now the whiskers got a nice shape to them, I want to start working out the ears. Now the ears are very kind of important. You can either have them sort of like facing down, you know, like this, they come outwards like this, or you can have them facing up. Generally I prefer to have them a little bit kind of higher than lower, but it's really personal preference. You know, it will make a big change to the actual overall face of it. So I'm going to bring this curve out like this, just like this. And once I get here, I'm going to loop this around this way and come back here. So it's going to connect up here, and what I'm going to do is create this little loop. It's going to connect in between like this. So you've got this loop outwards, and then a little loop just to the bottom to create the under part of the ear. So I'm going to do the same on this side now. This is going to curve outwards, curve into that dot, come a little bit past it, curve that around, and that secondary bit is just going to go there. So now we've got this done, we've got everything kind of sketched out in the face, kind of roughly where we want it. So now we've got this, I'm going to get my pen, I'm going to start detailing. Now there's a few little bits going to sort of slightly modify, so when we kind of get here, where this part of the face is, we're going to cut this in just a little bit, I think just here. Curve this in just a little bit just here. Coming down here, I think I'm going to bring in this cheek just a tiny bit just here on this bottom part. And again, just there, just as it sort of joins up to the circle. So the circle's going to stay where it is. I'm just going to bring that line a touch there, and that line just a touch just there. You know, just make sure it's all nice and roughly even. Now's the sort of time you can kind of correct little bits if you want to kind of get them back to similar. So I'm looking at, I just want to make these cheeks a little bit more parallel. So I can kind of go there. And I'm liking that, it's got a really nice kind of structure to it. So now we've got that done, I'm going to switch to my Sharpie. Just classic old school Sharpie, nothing special about it. And I'm going to go everything now with the Sharpie. So I'm going to start with the nose, just curve that around. And with the Sharpie, I always find you kind of want to work, you know, pretty quick with it, because on most kind of papers, it will generally bleed a little bit. So the quicker you can work, the less bleed you'll get. Now you can use different things. You can use the ink if you want. You can use kind of like a fountain pen, which a lot of old school people like to use. I do like them. I just kind of get a bit annoyed at them. I can't go as fast as what I like to go with them, so I'm just going to go for Sharpie. It's just easier to show you what I'm doing. There, then this curve, come up here. And take your time to get everything nice and even. Bring this curve just there. This line, maybe a little line just there. Possibly, I might sort of shade that, I'm not too sure yet. That's a good thing with Panthers, because they're sort of generally quite dark, you know. Anything you sort of don't really like, you know, like something like that, you can always just kind of black out. You're not going to really notice much difference, to be honest. I'm sure some people will disagree, you know, but when it's something that's heavily black, you know, it's like, well, you can always just cover that bit up. You know, it's not a big deal. In a tattoo, it's a big deal. You know, if I was in a tattoo, I sort of want to make sure it's exactly how I want it. But on paper, it's not going to make much difference. So I've got one tooth. Two teeth. You can make your teeth more sort of pointy if you want. I prefer to make them more rounded. It's just the way I like it. Get these whiskers in here. And don't feel like you need to go the same speed as me. You know, I know I go pretty quick my line work. You know, but kind of just go any kind of speed you kind of feel comfortable with. You know, if it takes you 10 minutes, it's good. If it takes you 5 hours, then it takes you 5 hours. You know, as long as you're having fun with it, you know, it doesn't really matter. You know, don't let speed kind of dictate what you do with the picture. Now for the pupil, I'm just going to get a little black dot in the centre, I think. Then I'm going to add too much more to it, I think. Just get a curve coming around there. this Fangs. When doing the teeth, I always prefer to do the Fangs first. I just find it kind of helps me get everything exactly where I want it to. I tend to make sure this bottom lip usually kind of curves into the teeth bit here before I kind of connect up to the side part. Not a real reason why, you know, it's not like it's going to make a difference to the image, I just prefer to do that. Get that line for the tongue. Curve those two lines outwards. Little flicker line coming down. And now I've got that, I'm going to get this bottom line come around here. This bottom line coming down around here. I'm going to bring this around here. Now I can go through the whisker parts here because there's obviously no white in those parts that I'm touching, so it's not going to make a difference. If you have like a little white section, let's say closer to the edge, then obviously you don't want to go directly through it, you know, just kind of get to it and sort of draw each little section. You know, but if it's just pure black, you can just go over there, it's not going to make much difference. You know, black on black, you know, it's just not going to make any difference there. Apologies for any noise in the background. I'm currently doing this during lockdown and I am from home. So my little boys are going to make some sounds every now and again. You know, boys will be boys. Just down here. Feel free to kind of tilt the paper any way you kind of want to make it a bit more comfortable. I'm trying to keep this sort of straight for the demonstration of the video, but if I was doing this normally, I probably would be spinning this paper around like crazy to kind of get more comfortable angles. Like that position for the whiskers I don't generally find very comfortable, so I would normally flip my paper around and do that from a different angle. So you see, we've got a nice kind of sort of face structure kind of going on here. Inside is a little bit, I mean, you can have the dots going from like the edge of these little lines if you want. I've got mine to go from the inside, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And I might say just put one just there. Just so everything's kind of roughly in there. Now we've got this all kind of sketched in there. Sharpie tends to dry pretty quickly, so I can kind of rub out straight away, but if you're using a different kind of pen, just make sure you give enough time for it to dry before you start rubbing stuff out. And just be careful, because sometimes on watercolour paper as well, certain pens, when you rub, you might find you end up sort of rubbing part of the actual pen kind of off the paper. So just be gentle, you know, I'm just using the putty rubber here, you know, it does the trick for me. But yeah, just be very aware of what you're doing with it. You know, just be a bit gentle, don't be too kind of crazy with it. Cool, I feel like I've got most of that off there now. Right, so the colours in, I'm going to be using inks. So what I've got here is Winsor & Newton Indian Black, Black Indian ink rather. And I'm going to be using some colours. I'm going to be using some, this is an Indian Yellow, and this one I'm going to be using is Flame Reds. You see that? But you can use whatever you want, you know, watercolour paints, any kind of ones you have, you know, ready. You know, you can use pencil if you want, you can use markers. You know, I'm just using paints for a change. I'm going to show you the technique I use for this, so I'm going to have my ink. We're going to have some tissue, we're going to have some water, and you want to make sure you have 2 brushes. So the idea of doing this sort of, you know, sort of shade, I'm going to use some kind of spit shading technique. This is going to touch the black, so when I put black ink in there, this is going to dip into the black. This one is never going to touch the black. You know, okay, it's not going to touch the ink pot. I'm going to use this, kind of watered into it, and I'm going to blend it out, and I'll show the method I'd use, and then after each time I sort of do that, I'm going to clean it. So this one's always going to stay clean. Now this one's going to touch it, so this one's going to get dirty, this one won't. I'm going to show you the basic sort of standard technique that I use. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to skip this into here. You don't need too much on it, just a little bit does the trick. So I'm going to start off somewhere fairly simple, sort of demonstration, so I'm going to go black, Set in this gap here. Now you don't want to put in too much each go, just like a little bit each time does the trick. So a bit of black here, a bit of black here, a bit of black here. Now I'm starting black on this side because I'm left-handed. You know, so basically if I start this side, I might end up sort of dabbing my hand in it. So it just makes sense putting it that side. So now I've got that done, I'm going to dip this pen into my water, or this brush into my water. I'm going to pat it down. I don't want it too wet. You know, you want a bit of water on there, but you don't want it too wet. Just kind of test it. If you can sort of go on the paper like this and you kind of see a bit of watermark, then you kind of got roughly about right. If you can't, you've got a little bit too less on there. So we're going to kind of wear it like this. I'm going to wear it down across. And then once I kind of get it, I'm going to mix into it. And it's going to blend out like this. And then you're going to sort of just dab it off, dry it, and you're going to blend it into it like this. Just keep kind of working into it, blending it out to the rough length you want it. Now I'm using spit shading, so I generally sort of tend to clean it with my mouth. The paint's non-toxic, so it's not going to make much difference. You can just use, obviously, the water. I recommend doing that. This is just a classic old school way of tattooing, just the way, well, not tattooing, drawing this. The old school flash way of doing things, rather. So I did my first kind of layers, and I'll sort of decide whether I want to bring it out anymore. So I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to sort of get like a little layer of water just going over the edge. Just bring it back until we touch it. And then just going to work it out. I prefer to kind of build it up. So I've got a little bit to begin with, and I kind of build it up afterwards. To kind of get to roughly about this kind of sort of length that I want it. Yeah, I know some people sort of go in quite heavy to begin with. I prefer to build it up. So now I've got that done, I'm looking at it, and I know I kind of want to build it up a little bit more, so I'm going to bring in a black ink and just bring it a little bit further. Don't want too much on there. So I'm going to bring my black ink to say about here. A little bit more on there than I kind of want. Bring this down here so I get a nice kind of even sort of spread across it. And you always kind of want to go in a side to side motion. Now you don't want to go up and down, like I wouldn't sort of go this way. You want to make sure you go side to side. You're always going to get a much cleaner and a much nicer shade if you do that. Okay. So again, just kind of work it into it. Once you've got on the edge, just work that nice side to side kind of motion pattern like this. And just keep working this down the edge. See, now I kind of feel that's kind of brought out, you know, the kind of length that I want it to go. So now that I kind of got that, I can sort of work in the rest roughly about the same kind of height. So let's get a little bit of black on the other brush. We brought the black out to around here, so I can bring the black out here, here. Yeah, and I'm going to work that kind of around, so you get this nice kind of sort of circular motion kind of going with it. When it gets underneath this eye, I'm going to black out underneath the eye. And I'll probably shade a little bit kind of coming outwards from it as well. Get a little bit of water on your brush. Look down from the edge again like we've done before. Let it touch it. If you see it starts to blur a little bit too much, it means just your brush is just a little bit too wet, so just kind of dab it dry. And just keep doing that process until you kind of get the right kind of consistency. You know, don't sort of panic. If you see it kind of sort of spread out a little bit, you know, don't panic. Just dry it off. You can always sort of dry it down. You know, water paint's quite forgiving, and same as ink. You know, as long as you kind of know what you're doing. So see it starts to spread. You kind of feel like you got a little bit of water on there. Just dry your paintbrush. Come back and blend it. And the more you work over it, you can kind of increase the sort of length you want to go. If you kind of feel like going a bit too far, add a little bit of water to your brush, you can kind of work into it and kind of fade it back out again. You know, it's perfectly possible to do that. It's not an issue at all. You know, and if you put your ink on there and it's got a little bit dry like here, you can always put a little bit more black on there. Or just keep kind of working over it until you kind of feel like it breaks. If it doesn't feel like it's going to break, and you get like a little clean edge, like you kind of got here, you know, just add a little bit more black on that edge and you kind of blend it out again. You know, it's the nature of watercolour. It tends to dry fairly quick sometimes, so if it does, it's not an issue, just add a little bit more on there. But in my opinion, just go a little bit at a time, you know, it's not, don't feel like you have to put loads and loads and loads. Just a little bit of ink does the trick. Now you'd be surprised how far a little bit of ink goes for this. And if you haven't given this a try before, I really recommend it. It's really fun to do. It's very therapeutic, you know. It's, and if you're stuff like mental health, something like that, you know, stuff like this is very, very good for it, you know. I get a lot of people all the time sort of messaging me saying how much it kind of helps them doing sort of artwork and stuff. You know, markers are very good for it as well, and that, but there's something very special about watercolour paints and inks. I don't know how to describe it. It's just, yeah, it's just something really kind of like therapeutic about doing it. Oops. So I mean, you kind of got a little bit too much, so I'm going to sort of just absorb a little bit off. Just dip it in there, let it kind of absorb it off. Pour off your brush, dry your brush. Just take it off. See, that's what I mean. It's very kind of forgiving that way. You know, it's very easy to do that. You want it. I like that. I'm just going to go little section by section. Now, the more experience you get with it, you know, generally the faster you find you go. You know, just don't feel like it's a race to begin with. Black just up here, just for now. Just going to get this in there. Down so you get the right sort of texture. You know, you kind of get the motion of it after a while now. Once you kind of get the motion going, it's just really fun. There we go. So that's that side bit done. So now we've got that side bit done. I'm going to bring a little bit across the heads. Now I want to get this head nice and smooth, so I'm going to bring this black probably across most of it. Just make sure you ain't got too much water on your brush there, because I think that's just toning down my black a little bit. You don't want that. You want a black nice and solid. Probably putting a little bit more here than I normally would. But I'm kind of bringing this black the whole way down, so I've got room to kind of maneuver with it. But like I said, if you're kind of worried about it, use a little bit, you know, at a time. Now, some people what they do, rather than sort of going black to the edge to begin with, they just draw like a little thin line across, shade down from that, and then put the black on afterwards. You know, if you're not very confident with it, I highly recommend doing that. It's a very good technique. I'll do it at the bottom so you see what I'm on about. I'll do a little demo with that. Bring this out. So, add a little bit more black across the top. I think I had that watered down a little bit more than I kind of wanted to begin with. Keep building it up and blending it. A bit more black across that line, I think. Just like that. Just gonna get a little bit more black. Just come across here. And I always prefer to start away from the black and kind of work into it. I know some people sort of like work from the black the other way around, but I just tend to find kind of working into it, like I put a little layer of kind of water in it, just kind of helps blend it. You know, so I've always done it. You know, I said it is possible doing the other way. I know a lot of people who do it that way, but for me personally, that's why I do it this way. keep building it up. More black on that side. Just there. Just do the trick. Bring that down so you're going to get a grey come down to about the same kind of length. Up into the black. Just like so. Now what I'm going to do is have a little bit of black just going the other way. Just a small amount, not too much. Now you can have the black very solid throughout the whole bit, but I like to do this little effect that I do. You've probably seen it, it's not like, you know, it's a special thing that I do, it's quite a common thing. But yeah, I'm going to put a little bit of black just around this shape, just here, just around here. Just going to go these two bits for now, and then I'll do the other bits. So you're going to start in the middle. Bring this around and kind of blend it up into it. So you get this nice kind of little highlight shine just in the centre. Like so. Let's go there, just smooth that out. There we go. I'll do that same sort of thing on all of it. I'm doing this part just here. Like I said, just take one section at a time. If it sort of starts to dry, it might be a little bit annoying to kind of work it, because you've already got the ground top. Once you've got that, just smooth out that line. Now you can blend the line out if you want. You know, on these kind of ones, I like, you know, that kind of hard line look. You know, I just think it just kind of works. But it's all down to your personal preference. You know, what you kind of like. Just generally what you want to achieve with it. I think it's always important to try to sort of think, you know, if you want it to be kind of, you know, crisp, kind of clean work, if you want it to be very sort of like traditional, kind of old school, you know, if you want it to be more sort of new school. And I don't necessarily mean like sort of say new school, as in like the actual style. I mean like if you just want to be a bit more like modern, old school, that's the word I'm looking for. You know, where it's a bit more kind of clean, a little bit more crisp, you know, it's... You know, I generally prefer that, but sometimes it does lose its charm compared to the old school stuff. You know, some things it's nice when it's almost like purposely kind of wrong or a little bit kind of sort of dirty looking. You know, if you kind of get what I mean. You know, so yeah, when you're sort of doing shading and stuff, it's always worth keeping in mind the kind of feel that you want for it. If not too sure, then just kind of work it however you kind of want, and in time you kind of start to work out what you kind of like and what you don't like. And that's not something you have to know from the get-go. I don't feel like if you don't know what it is, you're kind of doing it wrong. It's something you just kind of learn over time. Get a little bit black on this bit just here, and then start coming down again. That's that top part of the head done for me now. So now we've got it done, I'm going to work down, I'm going to do this part of the nose just here, and then I'll start working across this jaw bit. And I'll do that, what I said, I'll teach you that sort of shading technique where you use line rather than fold from the outside. For now, I'm going to add a little bit of black in the centre. I don't want black on this bit and this bit here, I want these to be light, but I want black in the centre bit. I want this to be quite heavily black as well, so I'm going to go black. In this section just here, I'm going to come black down from here. I'm going to have black from this bottom kind of coming up. I might actually make this solid actually. Yeah, I'm going to make this a bit solid. Sometimes you don't necessarily have to sort of shade any bit. Sometimes a nice solid area does the trick. And looking at it, I'm really liking how this looks solid, so I'm going to go solid in this section. So it's going to bold that in nice and solid. Just like so. I think I'm going to take out that line there and that line there. Yeah. Yeah, so I said sometimes an area just doesn't quite look right. If it doesn't quite look right, you can always remove it. Don't feel like you're stuck with it. So now I'm going to start working my way down. Get some black on this brush. Just like this. Like I said, what I'm going to do here, rather than sort of like shade from the top back down, I know I want a shadow coming from here, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this line, come down here. So there, I might change this brush, it's got a really annoying stray strand on there, it's annoying me. There we go. So yeah, so it's rather than doing like, you know, the whole bit on the inside to begin with, but sometimes you can have a little bit too much black, which makes it a little bit hard to kind of work with. So what I've done is just done it here. I'm going to bring this sort of, you know, water bit around the outside edge just here. I'm going to shade down from it. Keep your brush clean. Let's keep a good nice shade down. Work this edge, I'm going to need like a little kind of like line edge just around the outside, so I'm going to do that shadow just there, leave this little kind of white edge around the bottom bit. I don't know if you can see it quite clearly on there, but sometimes it's nice to bring the shadow right out to the edge, sometimes it's nice to leave just a tiny little highlight bit. Now both styles look awesome, but both will achieve a very different overall feel to the image. So what I've done now, you can see I've done black from there, and then now that I've done that, I can then add black on the inside part. Like I said, what I've done, I didn't leave me too much black to have to sort of draw out. Like I said, sometimes you have too much black behind it, it just kind of borders out a little bit. So now we've got that bit done, I'm going to work on this part of the mouth just here, coming down. Get my black. A little bit of black in the centre of this part, I think, and then the whole thing. A little bit of black strip just underneath these teeth. Just going to work up to it. So in this section, I'm kind of breaking a little bit, so I'm kind of doing a little bit of an up and down motion, but it's because it's a very small section. Now you can still use side to side, but sometimes if an area is too small, it does limit what you can really do position-wise shading from it. Come across this way now until I touch that black. I want to bring this kind of sort of shade down just a little bit, just down here. Now a little bit of black just around this bottom part of the teeth. Just a little bit underneath the tongue, just like a tiny bit in the centre. Nothing too much. I'm literally going to go a little bit black just here. Like this, and I'm just going to fade this up kind of into it. Again, I'm just kind of working my hair around it, so I'm just kind of giving a little bit of a water edge to around the outside edge, and then going to work into it. Just a little bit of a break to begin with. Dry and brush out. Another little coat. Just like so. I'm going to come up to the other side now. get my black. And I'm going to do the same sort of thing we've done before. So I come around there, so I'm going to bring this black. So across here. A little bit just on that inside like the gum just there as well. Do these two sections to begin with. Inside bit first. Again, I'm just going to wet the paper around it. Just work my way into it. Like so. You know, it's a nice parallel design, so try and get it as kind of symmetric as you can. You know, try not to beat yourself up too much if it's not 100% perfect. You know, it's going to be very hard to achieve 100% perfectness, especially with water paints, because you know water paints do have a slight element of randomness to them sometimes. You know, they're not quite as forgiving sometimes when you're trying to achieve certain things like, say, symmetric designs. They look amazing for it. But yeah, it's not always the easiest to achieve, so don't be too harsh on yourself. You know, you get it with time if you're very new to it. But I think too many people are too harsh on themselves with designs. You know, everyone takes, you know, especially when you're first starting, it takes practice to get good at anything. You know, don't expect perfection from the get-go. You know, and it's not something you should ever really want to achieve. You know, perfection should be the end goal. You know, perfection should be like the end goal, but you should never really sort of expect to kind of achieve it or want to achieve it. You know, because if you get perfection, you can't get no better than that. So you know. Have it as the aim, just not the end result you want to go for. If that makes sense. Just gonna add a bit of black around there. This shade building up around here. Keep blending it out until you kind of get roughly about even. Kind of keep in your head as well what it looked like when the ink was wet. You know, on the other side, because if you're trying to achieve the look it looks like when it's sort of dry, you're never going to quite. It's never going to look the exact same while it's still wet. So just kind of sort of trust your memory of it. You know, put it in there. If you're too worried about going too far, let it dry first. See if it is, and if it is, you know, if it hasn't gone too far, then you can always extend a touch afterwards, you know, but yeah, try to trust your memory a little bit of it. So got that black in there now. So I'm going to add on this inside part. Down there. Bring that around the eye, just like so. And then we want to blend up around it. Looking, and then I have little areas you kind of want to get black. You know, the nose I'm going to have in colour. I'm going to put a tiny little black just in the nostrils, I think. Let's have a little bit of black fade just coming down from those bits. You know, and you can always put a little bit of shade in the face as well if you want to. And by the face I mean like these little cheek bits, you can always add a little bit in there if you want. But if you do, you don't want to go too dark. You know, a little bit just so you kind of see. It's not necessarily something I would normally always add, but just kind of give a bit of an option. So I kind of water down the black a little bit. So you kind of got this sort of greyish kind of tone. I'm going to add this around those outside edges. And just using my brush, I'm going to drag this watercolour out. And I'm just going to repeatedly just keep bringing it out, cleaning it and drying it until I kind of get a fade to nothing. So you basically just want to keep taking off the ink. So you're going to get like that. So you get a little bit of shadow, but just not too much. You know, that's the kind of like the result you kind of want. About too much water on there. I've just got like a little dip on there, and that's going to annoy the hell out of me. There we go. Turn a bit more on there. Turn a bit there, turn a bit there, turn a bit there. Just keep blending it out. Should have made that a little bit wetter when I put it on. Blending it. Like so. So you see, we've got it on that side now, so we've got, just touch a bit of black there. So that's pretty much all the black done now. So now we've got the black done, I'm going to start working in the colour. Now I recommend even make sure your brush gets a really good clean before you start adding that, or just like use a different brush. You know, I tend to use different colours for the brushes, different brushes for the colours. That's the one I'm looking for. Send it the wrong way. I'm not going to be using too much colour really. I'm going to use a little bit of the reds, a little bit of yellow, and that's pretty much going to be about it really. I don't want to go too crazy with it. So I'm going to start off with my red, I think. Let's grab me out of brush. A lot of people have very personal kind of preferences as to what kind of sort of brushes they like to use and stuff like that. As long as the brush ain't too thick, I'm not really too fussed. You know, I'm not really overly snobby when it comes to my brushes, to be honest. Probably should be, but I'm just not. So I'm going to add my red here. Like I said, this is the flame red. I absolutely love this red. And the good thing about inks, they're very kind of like forgiving over the black. They tend to just kind of be a bit sort of translucent. So you can kind of work them over. So I'm going to add this over it, just leaving that little highlight possibly. And now change mine, I'm going to go feel red with that. So just red in the mouth. A little bit more red, so I'm going to put a little bit of red in the ears. A little bit in that space behind the eyes. There, a little bit red there. Not too much of it on there. The ink, I said the ink goes a long way, so don't feel like you have to have loads on your brush. It can sometimes very easy put too much on there. Put that on there to begin with. A lot of people I know, they tend to have their ears like bold red. I like to do a little bit of a kind of sort of pink kind of fade to them. So I like to blend out my reds. But feel free to just bold them in if you want. I think the main reason I like doing it, it just kind of separates it a little bit different, makes it a little bit different from the rest of the face. You know, because I tend to have it in the nose as well. It sort of just separates it from the rest of it. Any little bits where you have a little bit too much ink, so where you sort of see it kind of over the black, just take the ink off your brush, have a bit sort of dry, and just dab over it, and it basically just keep absorbing it each time. and just wipe it off. You know, it's quite easy to sort of take the excess off. Just blend that out. And do the same bit now, just a little bit on that nose. And then I'm going to work in the other colours. So just a little bit, just a touch on the top of the nose, just there. And that should do the trick. Take all the moisture out of my brush to begin with, just to kind of blend that over the top. Just stretch it out so I get a nice even coat over the top. Take all that ink off the brush. All the ink you can. A little bit on there when I didn't want it to be. But it doesn't make much difference because I'm pinking it anyway, so I'm going to go wet from the bottom, hitting that red, and just having it so the colour goes a bit kind of pink towards the bottom of the nose, like so. Just like that. And I like it because although it's still red, you know, it makes the red different from, say, the mouth, behind the eyes. You know, you get two of them kind of versions, so you get that and that. You know, you're basically making two variants from one colour, which I quite like to do. So now we've got that one done. And coming now, I'm going to use the Indian yellow. Just make sure I give it a good shake before I use it. If you don't shake it to begin with, you're going to get a bit of an off kind of colour of it. And you don't want that. You want a nice, even, rich, thick colour. Let's get all this ink off of the brush. Get me yellow. So there's not going to be too much of this really. Just mainly want it down this section just here. Just come across this part of the lip just here. And once you've done that, I'm going to get a little bit just behind the eyes. Just there and just there. I like to have that fairly bold like that, it sort of does a trick. And then once you've done that, just have a good look at it and just kind of see if there's any areas which you kind of feel like you've missed, which I clearly have because I have forgotten one very little important bit, which I'm going to correct now. You can probably see it. You probably know exactly the bit I've missed, because it's kind of obvious because it's like standing out pure white. Little area just there, but the gun. Just be careful if your hand touches any of the ink where it's wet. I can just feel here, I've just touched a little bit of black just on there, there's still on my finger, so just make sure you either wipe that off or just keep that part of your hand the hell away from the picture. There we go. A little bit red in there. Now you can add like blue in the whiskers and stuff in other areas if you want. Yeah, there's lots of ways you can do little things. I'm going to wipe that black off now before I touch anything. Just know me, I will do. I have a really bad habit of doing that. So you got that in there. And like I said, you can add other colours to it if you want. Like I said, you can add sort of colour in the whiskers and stuff. You know, but I don't feel like it necessarily needs that. You know, when I do this, a lot of time I often do the teeth yellow as well. It depends how much yellow I use in the lips, to be honest. If I use the, you know, sort of that. You know, a lot of time what I'll do is use like a purple or a red, say, for the lips, and then do the teeth in yellow. But yeah, it really depends on what kind of colours I have really around it that decides whether I do that or not. But yeah, once you've got to this stage, you know, that's pretty much the pan face done. You can add little extras if you want. You can add little flowers around the outside, you know, which I might do. I'm going to do that now, actually. I'm having a little look at it. No, it just looks really nice sometimes. I'm going to add a really kind of classic old school flowers, I think. So I'm going to add a little circle here. Little black circle on the inside. Bring a line, I'd say here. And I'd say here. One to around there. I recommend sort of sketching them out beforehand. I'm doing this a bit kind of freehand. It's always risky because you don't know if you're going to get dead perfect. But I like being a bit risky sometimes. in there. That way's. That way's just there. So you've got a little flower just there. And I might have another one just up here for just the sake of doing it. One line, two line, three line. I sort of do those lines as if I was dividing the circle into say 6. And that's the kind of sort of maths I'm sort of doing in my head with it. I'm way too thin on that bit. Little bits just there. And if there's any other little bits you want to do, you can always add little kind of also kind of swirls or outside line bits. You know, but I did a trick for that bit, so I'm going to add a little bit of red inside my flowers. And get me a brush back again. Grab my tissue, wherever I put that. Nice little bit on my red. Too much on there. Leave a little edge around the outside part if I can. I would normally do it normally, but because I'm not moving the paper, I find certain angles a little bit kind of awkward to do sometimes. Not too bad. What I need to do is get like a 360 table I can kind of sort of spin around and go upside down in. I wouldn't have to worry about moving the paper, I could just move myself. But unfortunately I'm doing this on a little desk. So I can't do that. So you've got that in there, and I'm just going to add a little bit of green. Those leafy bits. The green I like to use is this one, it's olive green. It's just a really nice green, to be honest. So I'm just going to open that up, let's give it a nice good shake. Pour a little bit of oat. A little bit of green on the brush. Pat it down so I don't have too much on there. Like this into these areas, just here. You can put a little bit of black in there if you want. Because I've got quite a lot of black in the face, I like to have my flowers quite light in the background. Just makes a nice kind of contrast. Now, if you have a heavy black image on the inside, you don't really want too much black on the outside part. There we go. And there you have, people. That's how to paint an old school panther face. You know, done traditionally, kind of split shading kind of way. You know, I hope you guys have enjoyed that. I hope it's liked. You know, I said as well, you know, I'm going to be giving this away, so if you want to enter, you know, just comment below saying that you like it. You know, that you want to be entered. And if you win, you know, I'll just message you, send a contact me on the Instagram or something, and I'll just send it to you guys. But yeah, people, that's how you do it. Old school panther face. I hope you liked it. I hope it's helped. I'm the Broken Puppet, and I'll see you next time. Peace.